5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's time to count down reality TV's most talked about moments with Amanda Bella. Hey everybody, welcome back to Bella Talks TV. It's Amanda Bella here. I'm so excited to be back with you per usual. It's been a couple of weeks. It's been one of the craziest months I've had. Like busy as hell, back-to-back people. If you've been following me since day one and you're a day one Bella, you know how it goes. I've been snowbirding down in Florida with the husband since December. We've been down here since after Christmas. And it's been like the best winter ever to be down here. Like we've been coming down the last 6 years together. And usually it's like not that bad of a winter and we're barely missing out on like any of the winter stuff back in New York. But this year's been absolutely horrible. It seems like everyone's getting really bad weather, terrible snowstorms, just like constantly getting reminded every day that it's winter. And I've been down here in this tropical paradise. So I really cannot complain, except for the fact that when you're somebody who lives down in Florida in the winter, everybody wants to come visit you. So we've had constant stream of guests. I've had my best friend and her boyfriend. I've had my mother-in-law. My parents were here for a whole week, which was insane because as being one of 4 kids, I've never been with my parents, like without my siblings there, like literally ever in my life, in 37 years of life. I've never been on a vacation with them or been somewhere not in my family home with them without my siblings being there. So it's just been a lot of attention I've been having to give other people. But don't worry, I've been keeping up with all of my reality TV. Even with my mom, which is great, a good thing that we bond over is our love of Married at First Sight, our love of Love is Blind. She's not much of a Housewives girly, but she knows the main players. She knows that I've basically made this my entire identity and she respects that. And my dad would just hang out with my husband when I was busy catching up on my shows with my mom. So I'm still in the loop. I've got all the 411 that I can give you guys on everything that's been going on in Bravo and beyond. I'm not going to get into the Bachelor all this week, but I kind of hope you guys are watching because it looks like, we have our villain every year. And if you are watching, you guys will know who I'm talking about, Carolina. She's really coming out as this year's toxic girl in the house. And it looks like the previews for next season or for next episode, they showed this clip for next episode, which is going to be tonight. I'm recording this on Monday, February 24th. And it looks like tonight they're going to finally confront her. She's kind of being exposed. I mean, you always know who the toxic girl is because it's who gets the last rose at the rose ceremony because they know producers have got to keep this chick around for ratings. And she looks like this episode tonight. She's walking up the stairs and she throws her hands in the air and she's like, I guess I'm the villain. I guess I'm the evil one. And I'm kind of living for that. We need to have that toxicity in the house. It is part of The Bachelor. It's been part of the Bachelor franchise since the beginning, is having the drama between the girls in the house. If you're not watching The Bachelor, I highly recommend. There's been a few parts I've enjoyed. Grant, I think, has held himself pretty well against a lot of the rumors that he was there for the wrong reasons. I'm kind of still digging Grant. I kind of still feel like he's worth watching as The Bachelor. So again, I won't get into too much about that this week, but quickly at the top of the show here, I've had so many new followers, I have to say. Finally, you know what they say with the algorithm is once you get into it, you kind of start picking up speed and people will be oh, you get to your first 5,000, you'll be 10,000 before you know it. And then you're getting to 50,000 and 100,000. Once Instagram favors you and you start getting that engagement, things start to pick up for you. So if you're a new follower here, thank you for being here. This is Bella Talks TV. It is a weekly roundup of reality TV's most talked about moments. I break it down into a top 5 countdown. I do an OMG and an LOL of the week, which is taken from the Kardashians' Peak and Pit, which we are not going to get into them either this week because the season is off to a slow start. We're on episode 3. We had the Chloe and Lamar drama that I didn't necessarily love the way that Chloe treated him, bringing him onto the show and kind of using him for ratings like that. I just did not enjoy that storyline. I'm not enjoying the nepotism of Northwest storyline of her doing the Lion King at the Hollywood Bowl. This season is just not for me. So I don't have much to say about this episode, but I'm keeping an eye on them. Keeping an eye on The Bachelor and keeping an eye on The Kardashians, they didn't make it into my top 5 countdown because no one's really talking about them. And this is a roundup of reality TV's most talked about moments. So I've got my list here for the week. I've tried to round everything up that's kind of been going on since I haven't been here with you guys in 2 weeks because of everything that's been going on. Plus, I apologize if I cough in the middle of this episode because I've got something going on. Like, a lot of things have been going around. My husband plays poker, and so he went to play poker and somebody was sick at the table and he brought something home to me, and unclear exactly what's going on, but I can't really take like a full deep breath, which is another reason why I didn't record last week. So just bear with me this episode. If this is your first time here, I apologize. But if you are a day one, you know how this show goes. Let's just get into it. Like I said, I keep very minimal notes. I try to just riff off the top of my head. I may go off on a little tangent. I may have a little vent sesh about a few of these people that are on these shows because I hate watch a lot of this stuff. And I also listen to a lot of other people's podcasts and get their opinions. And I typically disagree with them. And that's why I have this platform, is that I can come on here and be like, okay, I don't really like this narrative that's out there, or I really don't like the way that this spin is being taken on this show. I got to vent about a few things. So my LOL and my OMG of the week this week are a little, maybe you're thinking like, oh, this happened a while ago. But again, like, bear with me because I typically do this episode. I try to record every week and get these episodes out for us. But again, like, this has been a very busy month for me. So I'm hoping that when I get back to New York next month and we get moved back in, I'm going to be way more consistent. And I've been teasing too, again, that I will be giving away a ticket to BravoCon this year. So you have to be following the podcast and following me on Instagram at Bella Talks TV. You have to go leave me a review and 5 stars on your platform of choice, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts. Go show some love and support. These are all going to be factors that go into who's going to win my BravoCon ticket this year, because it's going to be a doozy. I've been to all the BravoCons. I've been to Bravo Fan Fest. I go to a lot of the watch parties. Being a New York City girly, I get to really dip my toe into the world of Bravo a lot and participate in a lot of these fan events. So stick with me for all of the inside tea. I will be getting into a little bit more of how I went to a summer house filming, and that will be in my top 5 later in this episode. Starting off with my LOL of the week, we've got to get into SNL. Now, this is a different type of reality TV show that I think, like, the characters of SNL have really been brought into our homes, much like reality TV. This is kind of like not my typical LOL. I usually try to pick up a laugh out loud moment from one of our Bravo programming shows, Love is Blind, Married at First Sight, all these other shows that I follow. Sometimes even Jersey Shore, I'm a big Jersey Shore fan. And now that this episode or this season just ended and they're already filming the next season now, but Sammy Sweetheart just announced yesterday that she is expecting with her fiance. So congrats to Sammy. Happy for her. I'm happy that she is going to be bringing another little fist pumper Jersey Shore lover into the world. We've got to keep the legacy going of Jersey Shore. But this week, we're doing SNL. Like, it's been the SNL 50th anniversary. All of these special events have been going on over the past week or so, and they've been releasing a couple different things exclusive to Peacock. But also, if you watched the Saturday Night Live 50th anniversary special that was on last Saturday, it was so good. I laughed, I cried. It was really reminiscent, and they do a good job paying tribute to a lot of the people that came before them. But I'm somebody who still watches Saturday Night Live every Saturday. I'm a big fan of the show. I love live television, and I love the musical guests. Like, I'm a big music girly. I was raised on the greats. Like, my family is from Michigan, and so I grew up a lot on classic rock and country music. So I'm always really aware of what's going on in that world. But on top of that, I am a big alternative rock. I used to be like pretty big emo girly, scene girl back in the 2000s. And I really am into alternative rock from the 90s, from the 2000s. And then that transitioned me into being a big electronic music fan, because Skrillex, if you're familiar, this was my freshman year in college in 2005. He decided to leave his band that was called From First to Last, which was a big emo band that he was the singer of, and he wrote a lot of the music. He also plays guitar. He left his band to go pursue a career in electronic music, became Skrillex. His real name is Sonny. So he kind of transitioned from Sonny into Skrillex. He started teaming up with Diplo a lot. They had that huge song with Justin Bieber. Like he went mainstream for a little while. So I'm just tied into like all genres of music. I have passions in all of them. And I love Saturday Night Live musical guests because even with rap, R&B, like I just live for music. I live for reality TV. Like my two big passions are reality TV and music and live music. So to me, Saturday Night Live and comedy and everything, it intertwines everything. It's such a staple of American culture. And again, like I just love the idea that it's live. I love the idea that they're always introducing new artists to us, new comedians to us. I mean, obviously we have huge names that have come out of this, but I'm always loving learning about new people and I love to laugh. So to me, I still find SNL very funny. A lot of people have kind of like quit on it, or they'll be like, oh, it hasn't been good since Will Ferrell was on there. It hasn't been good since the Chevy Chase, Chris Farley days. Like I understand each generation has been different and has had different appeals to different generations, but I'm just a fan of all of it. So I've really, really enjoyed watching the 50th special, learning a little bit more about Lorne, the creator and the executive producer that's been on there since the beginning. I learned a lot about how he wants people to come on there. It's a very non-censored show, and he kind of gives people the freedom to do whatever they want creatively on there. And that makes me really love and respect him too. I didn't really like know what to think of Lorne. For a long time, he's kind of like the Wizard of Oz, like the man behind the curtain a little bit. And learning more about him has been really interesting. I really enjoy how he has, even going back and learning about like Sinead O'Connor and her performances on there when she ripped up, if you guys watch the special, you'll know, but the time she ripped up the pictures of the Pope when there was all of the Catholic Church stuff going on, and Lorne like didn't censor her at all. He was kind of like proud of her, actually. Like these are the things that make you have faith in humanity again. Like there's this, we'll get into a little bit more, but this idea that just like all men are toxic right now. There's this toxic femininity going on where it's like, okay, yeah, we don't have to like hate all men. Like some men actually do lift women up and give them a platform and give them a space too. So Lorne, I'm really turned on to Lorne right now. I think that he's just done so great. I can't believe SNL is 50. And my true LOL of the week, like again, you have to go back and watch. Like on the special, Lil Wayne performed a medley. Like I'm a huge Lil Wayne fan. I came up right in the heat of Lil Wayne. I was really of that like time and space of pop culture. I was working at Wet Seal and I was a manager in the mall for many years. Wet Seal went through this phase where they were putting out a lot of like graphic t-shirts. Like remember when graphic tees were huge? And we got this shirt in one day that said, "Shouty want a thug." I mean, clearly I'm a white girl from Michigan. Like how embarrassing for me. But I wore that shirt like until I had holes in it. Like I was so obsessed with Lil Wayne and the Lollipop song. And that was just like when I turned 21 and I would start going out to bars and clubs. And that was like the Usher OMG era. Now, of course, we're not the biggest fan of Usher right now. If you guys have seen pictures of Justin Bieber lately, like I'm worried about him. I'm very worried about him. He's not looking great. He was just seen with Dave Chappelle over the weekend in Hollywood, and he looks really, really down bad and rough. And I don't know if it's depression or drugs or just not taking care of himself. I don't know if it's being a new father. I mean, I'm sure they have a ton of nannies. I don't think Justin's up in the middle of the night taking care of the baby and changing diapers. So I don't think that's an excuse, but there's something going on with him. We got to keep an eye on Justin Bieber also. So prayers up for him. But tying this all back into my LOL of the week, some of the ladies of SNL were on Watch What Happens Live promoting the 50th special with Andy. And it was Sherry O'Terry, Cecily Strong, Lorraine Newman, who is an original SNL cast member. Like I, again, didn't know much about her because this premiered in 1975. I wasn't even born until 1987. And I didn't really start watching SNL until the late 90s. So learning a lot about these original cast members I thought to be very interesting with Bill Murray and, the history. But Anna Gasteyer, Lorraine Newman, Sherry O'Terry, Cecily Strong, and Rachel Dratch were all on Watch What Happens Live. And SNL has embraced the Housewives through the years. They've had a lot of Bravo skits. They've had their finger on the pulse of Bravo and reality TV for a while. And back in the day, they even allowed Andy to come on SNL. Like Daddy Andy got to have his own SNL skit where he hosted a fake reunion, and it was like the Real Housewives of Disney, and it was like Cinderella and Jasmine, and it's an iconic skit. Like if you have not seen it, pause this video now, go watch it on YouTube. It's like 8 minutes long. It's so good. I watch it like once a year just to remind myself how good it is. But they had them come all on to the show, and Andy was like, let's do a segment where we all do your SNL taglines if you were a housewife. And I'm going to post a video to my Instagram, and I hope it doesn't get taken down because I know NBC has been cracking down on copyright lately. So I'm kind of scared. I mean, they recently took down one of my clips of a Pete Davidson video. So it was, I mean, I know that they're out here like hawking this stuff right now, but it is a funny thing where, again, those 5 women I just named all do their housewives taglines, and like Cecily Strong is pregnant. She's like, I might have expensive taste, but right now I'm 2 bitches for 1. And just the idea of the taglines is such an iconic thing. As we all know, Debbie Downer was Rachel Dratch's, one of her famous SNL characters, and she goes on to do her tagline, and she's like, I'm an upper in the streets but a downer in the sheets. And her thing was always like, and I can't have children. And they even play like the trumpet for Debbie Downer. Debbie Downer is like one of my favorite characters. If you watched the special, you got to see Kristen Wiig doing the crazy Target lady with the little hands. She was in a skit with Kim Kardashian and Will Ferrell. Just the whole special was good. And then plus that little Watch What Happens Live segment of doing the taglines and them ladies reminiscing on their, like Lorraine Newman being the original cast member. Her tagline was, I'm the only original and everyone else is just a copy, which is kind of like a play on Vicky Gunvalson because she was the OG of the OC. Like, I just love how these women, these iconic women in comedy and live SNL television, all know about the Housewives. They watch the Housewives. Cecily Strong, her favorite housewife is Meredith. Like, I love that for her. They did the Clubhouse Playhouse, and they did this scene in the Sprinter van where everybody catches Britney recording. I just love like when 2 of my worlds collide like that. So that was my LOL of the week. Make sure you go watch that SNL 50 special on Peacock, and then make sure that you also watch a Watch What Happens Live episode to follow up because it's like a nice little cherry on top at the end. I was also laughing too. Like I wrote in one of my notes, like who would we think from Bravo would be good at like hosting and being the musical guest on SNL? And I had to put Luann. I think Luann, if anybody was going to cross over from being on Housewives to being on SNL, she would be a great one. I even put on there like Maddie Reese. She could be somebody who hosts SNL one day and then also is the musical guest. She's been under fire for stealing a song, which you guys know I'm a huge Maddie stan. I've been supporting her since day one. Like I said, I'm a huge electronic music fan. I really want to see her play live. I've been like messaging her on Instagram, and she's really sweet. She always talks back with me, and I'm like, please do a show in Vegas at BravoCon. Like I need to come and like buy a table and bring everybody out to see you guys. What makes me sad about her and her whole situation is that James Kennedy really mentored her and helped her like come up in this world. And now we know what's going on with James. Like he's got that big cancel on his forehead. So I hope that she's able to still kind of like break free. And I really hope she knows better not to like associate herself with him anymore, because I'm going to have to just have a side eye situation in that. But yeah, that song that she premiered, that Poppin' It song with, I'm not going to get into them too much onto this week's episode because not too many people are talking about them in the Southern Hospitality. Like a lot of people are still refusing to watch that show, which I do not understand. But Southern Hospitality is killing it. It's on its 3rd season. I'm obsessed. I talk about all the characters like I know them. I still will never get over the fact that Joe Bradley cheated on Danielle Oliveira with Countess Luann, and Maddie Reese like supports it. And she's like, yeah, I don't care that Joe slept with Luann. Like that's iconic. Like she even appreciates it and gets like the lore of Luann. Like the Bravo world is just the gift that keeps giving. So I think that Luann would just be great on SNL, and I still have got to go see her cabaret. Okay, moving on from that, let's get into my OMG of the week. I haven't had a chance to talk about this yet. I don't even think I've acknowledged it on my Instagram yet. I really need to like figure out how I'm going to talk about this in a sensitive way, but we've got to talk about Teddy. Teddy revealing to us that she has been suffering from debilitating headaches. She went in for what seemed like a routine CAT scan. As somebody who suffers from headaches and migraines and has to see a neurologist. And this is my biggest fear. My number one most scared nightmare in the world is to have some kind of test and find out that I have a brain tumor. Like, it's just something that I've always been afraid of since I was little. I actually, in 5th grade, fractured my skull. And it's a long story for a different time. And I've always dealt with issues since then. And if you have brain injury, you're more susceptible to getting brain tumors. So it's just something that I'm like extremely afraid of. And to hear Teddi have my worst nightmare be happening to her, we all need to table the hate, table the disdain for Teddi, and be a freaking human being and realize like what she's going through is so scary. Her family, I know that what she did to Edwin, cheating, and the crazy thing about TBI and traumatic brain injuries is that it can affect your personality and can also affect, there's a part of your brain that actually is responsible for risky behavior. And it's a reason why some people are more susceptible to having these personality disorders or performing in a way that seems like, oh my God, like this, what's wrong with this person? Like, the word crazy is there for a reason, right? Like when we're like, oh, these bitches are crazy. Like, what is wrong with their brain? Sometimes there actually is something wrong with their brain. It can be producing the chemicals differently. It can be firing up that part of your brain that makes you feel excited and rewarded when you're acting in these risky behaviors like gambling or substance abuse or cheating on a partner, doing things that you're like, how did you think that this was a good idea? Now it's all like coming back to me. Like, Teddi has been acting like, it's like sometimes you have to really step back and we're like, whoa, what is wrong with this chick? Like, what is wrong with her? And there actually was something wrong with her. And that is so freaking scary to me. Like, I cannot believe that she went in for this test. She also has somebody that has been very susceptible to having melanomas and skin cancers. So throughout these checks and these doctor visits, they discovered that she's got multiple brain tumors. She had to be rushed into an emergency surgery. I mean, Teddi and Tamra, two T's in a pod, like, even though it frustrates me to the high heavens, I listen to all of their episodes because I do think they give good insight. And I still listen to a lot of people that, even though I disagree with them, I still listen because I think that's important to character development, to just not, it's like watching the media. Like, if you only watch one news channel that you agree with, like, you're never going to get really the full story. So I listen to a lot of things that I don't really agree with them. And now looking back, it's just like, wow, like, I can't believe that she had these tumors and that she really had these health problems going on, and her cheating on Edwin, her not being everybody's favorite housewife. I mean, some of these things just seem like they're undeniably connected to her behavior. So with that being said, I know that Tamra is really being affected by this news of Teddi. I mean, they're basically best friends. They record together multiple times a week. They are very, very close. And I'm just really sad for that going on. Real Housewives of Orange County is filming right now. So I'm wondering if this is going to be covered on the show also. Like, how could it not be? Teddi, they show the videos of her being in the hospital room before she goes in for these surgeries. And we haven't really got like a real update yet. Teddi and Tamra on their podcast have been having guest hosts, Dolores, Trishelle from Traitors Real World. They've been having like other people step in to take Teddi's place while she's been out. And they haven't really been giving health updates because it's really like not their place and they don't really want to say. But like, I just really hope that she's going to be able to make a full recovery and that she will be able to live her life normally again someday. But it's going to probably take a long time until she's back in that position. Edwin has been there by her side. And then of course, Kyle, like, we have to talk about Kyle because Kyle's also best friends with Teddi. And Teddi showed, of camera, a shot of everybody being in the room, like kind of sending her off to surgery. And Kyle's there with Morgan. And like, I totally still believe that they're fully together. Like the wool has been pulled over our eyes, but to me, it has become so obvious that Kyle is the one that maybe fell out of love with Mo or something. Like, the Morgan, Mauricio, Kyle love triangle continues to befuddle me, and it's still ongoing. So I just think it's so crazy. Like, will we ever get the truth? Because I do think this is going to be Kyle's last season on the Beverly Hills Housewives. she's ready to just like go off and live her life with Morgan, and Morgan wants nothing to do with the show. So I think maybe there was an ultimatum, like it's got to be me or the show put in there. I just fully believe that they're still together. I just can't help it. It's just women's intuition. So yeah, I just am really shocked to see all this going on with Teddy. All of this is being, hopefully covered a little bit on Real Housewives of Orange County. Now, there was a blind item that was sent out into the masses. I think it was Bravo and Cocktails this week, saying that during filming, Gretchen and Slade, as we know, are back as friends of this season, that Tamra comes for them, my queen, which I also DM'd with Tamra a little bit and been like, girl, like, you've got to come for Gretchen. Like, do not let her come onto this show. Like, you have so much ammo. Everyone thinks that she's going to take you down. Like, you better take her ass down. Don't be afraid. Like, go for it. And then now this blind item says that last week that there was a drink thrown at Tamra from Gretchen and Slade. So to me, that means, okay, great. Tamra is speaking up. Tamra is going to go for his deadbeat dadness because, again, the reason why Gretchen and Slade are not married is because Gretchen will not inherit his child support debt, which is over $150,000 that he never paid the mother of his children. I hate Slade more than I hate Gretchen, but them together is like an evil duo, and I need them to be taken down this season. So it sounds like there's like some heat happening in the OC, and that Tamra is going to be the voice of reason, hopefully, and like take them down before they have a chance to take her down this season. And with that being said, too, there was a second part to that blind that says that Katie is also going to be really getting into the mix this season. And Katie was not my favorite person last season. And I was a little surprised that she even came back because if you guys remember at the reunion, like she did not have a great showing. And it seemed like pretty much everybody there thought she was like a pathological liar and that she was kind of like a grifter of a certain, like no one really knows the truth about her. And it seems like Katie knows the heat is on her. She's been brought back. Like she better step up and have her more of a storyline this year than Heather and the paparazzi photos like she did last season, and that she could be coming for Shannon. And I'm not the biggest Shannon fan. So I'm like, oh, am I going to be like liking Katie this season? Because there's a rumor in that blind about Gretchen and Slade throwing the drink at Tamra that Katie recorded one of Shannon's meltdowns, which we know she is known to have. I actually, if you guys do a fun little Google search of Shannon Beador meltdown, I mean, there are so many articles about this, about her freaking out on staff, on people in restaurants, on other cast members. Like that is like what Shannon does is she comes on camera to pretend she's like this kooky mom. But behind the scenes, I do think she's evil. And I think she treats everybody like crap. And she's got this like, I think she's just very two-faced. And if Katie is able to expose this side of her, because remember, even with the Love Hotel stuff about Joel Kim Booster coming out and saying that Shannon was treating people on set poorly, and especially people of color. I mean, I need this. I need this to come out because Katie being a non-white person on this cast filled with all these other white blondies from Orange County, like if she can come up and be that person to take Shannon down, I will literally bow. I will take back everything bad I said about her. Like, if this is true, I'm going to be living for Katie this season. So we'll see. We'll have to see about this blind and about this being true because these rumors have been circulating for a long time about Shannon, but nobody has been able to like fully expose her. So expose her, Katie, expose her. So yeah, that was my OMG of the week. Prayers up for Teddy. I know, like, again, she's not everybody's favorite person, but nobody deserves to be going through this. I really hope she does make a full recovery and that we get her back doing 2 teas in a pod with Tamra because I love their weird friendship. And you guys know I love Tamra, so I don't want that to go anywhere. Let's take a quick break here and we'll be back to do my top 5 countdown of reality TV's most talked about. Okay, and welcome back to Bella Talks TV. Again, this show is brought to you with no ads. I do this just for fun. This isn't my job. I'm not contractually obligated to put these shows out for anybody. I do this just for myself, produced by myself, edited by myself. Everything. This is a one-woman show. So if you can please leave a review, leave a 5-star rating, follow me on social media, and support me in any way that you can. I would love you forever, Bellas. Okay, so let's get into my top 5 countdown because we've had a lot of reality TV moments going on and these shows tend to run long. Also, I'm very long-winded. I'm very detail-oriented. I have lots to say about lots of different things every week. So I'm going to try to always keep these things like, I want to just keep it moving here. So on my number 5 most talked about moment of the week, we've got to pop into the Married at First Sight world. I have been screaming from the rooftops, like, stick with this season. I know it started out slow. I know it seemed like a lot of people were trying to get into it in the beginning of the season, and they would message me and just be like, girl, I couldn't do it. Like, the episodes are long. They are 2 hours every week, plus the after party, which is a whole other thing. Like, I love the after shows. Again, I can't say this enough. I've been loving how they've been adding in they had the Beverly Hills after show. They had the Salt Lake City after show. They now are doing the Southern Charm after show. And I'm sure they're going to be doing the Summer House after show this season too. I love getting the insight into what's going on behind the scenes a little bit more. And the after party really is one of my favorite shows. I hate the host, Keisha. I always talk about this. Like, Keisha, to me, I find very annoying. She like makes my eye twitch, just the way that I don't know. There's just something about it. And it's like, it's a little bit of a rip. All of this is like a rip off of Watch What Happens Live. Like, Watch What Happens Live is the original after show. Like, when you watch the show live and then you have somebody from the show there to kind of talk about stuff that's going on afterwards. So Watch What Happens Live has actually been on a break this week. Andy was on vacation, I saw, with his kids, somewhere tropical, and I love that for him. I love that Andy's at a place in his career where he just knows like he can take a week off, and like everyone will be sitting here waiting for him to get back. Like, we need Andy. We love Andy. So I'm loving that for all of us fans. And I'm loving that the world of these after party shows have really taken off. But we finally, if you've been watching the show, we finally have got to the point of the season where Madison and David, after weeks and weeks and weeks of speculation from not only Michelle on the show, but also the rest of the world wondering, like, who cheated? Who was that text for that David was sending about, you look so fine, I want to eat you up? Like, was it for Madison or was it for Tiffany? Like he said, if you're watching me, again, shout out to my YouTube fans. If you're watching me, of course, I'm doing a big old air quote there. That, was it for Tiffany from Tinder, or was it really for Madison this whole time? Was Madison just receiving texts, or was she also fully active in this affair going on? Or was it just like a crush that David had? Like, there were so many unanswered questions going on about what was going on behind the scenes with David and Madison and Michelle and Alan, our sweet, poor Alan, who really took the biggest hit in this whole situation. But we finally got our answers. We finally got to the couples retreat. And Michelle's one and only purpose of going into the couples retreat is to grill David and get him to really tell the truth, because he's been lying to her face for like 3 weeks now. We've been having to watch these episodes of David straight up lying to Michelle's face and, you know, saying that it was a picture of food and it wasn't a picture that he meant to send to another woman, and that he wasn't stepping out on their marriage. And that, yes, we all know Michelle was horrible to David. Okay. She wasn't exactly warm and fuzzy. She totally, if you go back to listen to my previous episodes too, I roasted Michelle as well. She wasn't exactly creating an environment that where love could grow between Michelle and David. But I think that she just knew from the beginning, like, there was something up with this guy, and that he was probably really presenting more of a facade to the cameras than really who he was behind closed doors. Because let's break it down here again. Remember, David living in his parents' basement, working a third shift job, which again, it's like, no disrespect, truly. I think everybody working, contributing to society, like at least they are doing something. Not everybody has to be a corporate financier. Not everybody has to be a doctor or a lawyer or anybody to be respected in the community. But there was just something up with David. Like, it was really why the experts would pick this man. Because again, you're getting married at first sight. Like, you don't know anything about the person you're about to marry. Like, he was kind of set up for failure, because why would anybody want to be with this guy? Kind of like, I don't want to use the word loser, but like, he was kind of like it was like giving some loser traits. Like who would, like, when you're writing down traits that you want in your future husband, all of the things that he was doing, like partying too much and being out at bars a lot. And just the only thing that was really redeeming about him was that he seemed like he really was a family man. He comes from a big Puerto Rican family, which is, very rooted in tradition, loves his family, loves his mom, close with them. Like, that was the one thing about him that I found to be very redeeming. Like, yes, we love that he's a family guy, but you have to have kind of like your shit together, especially when you're of a certain age and you are going on these shows and someone's going to be married to you. Like, you want like an equal partner. And Michelle was she was spiraling. She was like, how am I going to be married to this guy? I don't know. Like, she wanted somebody who, like she said a lot, like matched her in life, matched her lifestyle, matched her energy. And she kind of got the short end of the stick with this. From the honeymoon, they started having problems. David was feeling rejected. And I mean, not that it was for a good reason, but like they both could have handled it better. Okay. We know that they both could have handled the situation better, but from the beginning of the honeymoon, I mean, even producers now are flashing back to scenes with Madison and David, like flirting. They started going to the gym together. And as we know with Married at First Sight, everybody lives in a communal space. So they're all in the same building. It was very obvious that Madison and David were spending a lot of time together off camera. If you're watching from the after party, they would talk about how there were a lot of group, which is so weird about Married at First Sight. They only film the dates of them together. And then they have the nest cams, kind of like Summer House vibes, like in the apartments where they kind of pick up on some other things. But a lot of these couples weren't actually living in their shared apartments. And a lot of them were going home and only coming to the shared space to film. This was just a very, very weird season. It seemed like none of the couples took the experiment seriously. Maybe it's just showing me, like, is Married at First Sight even going to be able to continue? Have we just evolved too much as a society now with social media and the way that reality TV is now? It's very weird how none of the couples really acted like they got married. I don't know if it was just for lack of good matching from the matchmaking from the experts. Like, I'm really unsure because Married at First Sight now has been bought by Peacock and it's going to be leaving Lifetime. And I'm wondering if it's going to get kind of like a Project Runway revamping. Like, are we going to have new hosts? Are we going to have new experts? Are we going to have a new strategy and method to the show if it's under a new production company? Because it has not been working. The last few seasons have been horrendous. If you didn't watch Denver, I mean, not to spoil it for you, but none of the couples stayed married. Like, at least every season, there's at least one couple that chooses to stay married at decision day. And it's been 0 for 100 out of the last couple of seasons. So it's just not working. Like, the experiment's not working anymore. And they really need to make some changes. So I think the problem too is that Pastor Cal, like, we have these experts, Pastor Cal, Dr. Pepper, Dr. Pia, and all of them are very, I don't know, they're giving more like reality TV star than like actual expert trying to help these people with their marriages. They used to pop in like a ton and be involved a lot in the process. And now we've only seen them like 3 times this whole season. Just, I don't know what is going on with the show, but something needed to happen. But getting back to the fact that Madison and David, they should, or Michelle and David probably should have never been paired together. And it's very clear that now with all these flashbacks that Madison and David, and they were clearly doing something nefarious. And then even Carla said on the after party that they were all out together and Madison and David disappeared together for like 20 minutes the night that the text was sent. Oh my gosh. I mean, this is a mess. This is a mess. And Michelle was determined with her women's intuition to expose it all. So when they're at this couple's retreat and they're all sitting there, Michelle really starts to pushing. Like, I need to talk to Madison more. She gets Madison to show her phone. Like, Madison goes up and is like, if you want to make sure that it wasn't sent for me and like, I don't know what else I can do, like, you can look at my phone. And prior to the conversation, Madison admitted that her and David text back and forth as friends to meet at the gym or whatever. Like, it seems like they had each other's numbers. And then all of a sudden, Michelle's like, okay, we'll pull up your text with him and your DMs. And when she goes to pull him up, like, David's name, like, auto populates in there. And then also when they do a text message search, like, there's tons of messages of Madison talking about David to like other friends and family. Also, a side note, if you look up Madison's sister's husband, he looks just like David. Like, it's getting weird. It is getting weird. And all of this just starts to come out. Madison or Michelle's like, well, how come when you pull up his name, like there's no text messages when you've already admitted that you guys text? Like, wouldn't the text messages of you guys just being friendly, like still be in your phone? And Madison just has this weird nervous laugh. Like every time she's like, ha, 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 ha. Like she just laughs after everything. It's giving, I'm guilty as hell. And they just keep breadcrumbing all through the episode until finally Michelle goes up to Alan in the kitchen. And she's like, you know what? I really have been avoiding like kind of bringing you into this and also like just going guns blazing at Madison. But like, I cannot ignore the signs anymore. Like, I think that Madison and David are having an affair, pretty much. They're texting each other. They're meeting up off camera. There's something going on here. And the look on Alan's face, because you could tell it at the beginning, he wants to totally deny it and be like, no, no way. Because up until this point, Madison has been telling Alan like, hey, I think that we have a chance, but like, we got to fix some things about you. Like she makes him get a new wardrobe. She makes him get Invisalign because she wants to be more attracted to him. Like they have only kissed at the wedding and they've been married for 7 weeks now. And there's nothing going on between them. And Madison keeps telling Alan like, no, I swear, like, I'm still in this marriage. Like if I didn't want to be married to you and be trying, like I would have left a long time ago. Like Madison keeps reassuring Alan that like she's in this marriage. She doesn't know what she's going to do on decision day, but she's not giving up on him and giving him this little bit of false hope. And so Alan just starts to kind of like, you can see the wheels turning and he's just like, wow, like I think that, yes, like basically gives Michelle permission to like, okay, go do what you need to do, investigate, expose, like get the producers involved. We have got to get to the bottom of this now because you're right. Like, I don't know what's going on with us. I don't know what's going on with them. There's something going on though. Like everybody has this gut feeling. And finally, the pressure has been applied from now all the corners of the house. Like the friends are getting involved. The other couples are curious. The producers are now going into Madison's room and being like, hey, is there any truth to this? And you can just see Madison like cracks and crumbles. Like it's done. Like she cannot keep this in any longer. They clearly have been covering up this up for weeks. And she goes and she knocks on David's door, who he's like dead asleep. Like this guy, I'm sorry. Like I really, really tried to like David. I did, but he just seems kind of like again, I really hate using the word loser because it's so like degrading, but he just seems like kind of like a loser to me. Like he's like in there like napping and she has to like wake him up with like his big ponytail. He comes out and his face is all just like puffy. Like he just seems like he's like always drinking a lot. They both like to drink a lot, which is brought up by the experts about how she's always out till 2, 3, 4 in the morning. Like Madison's like never coming home. Alan's sitting on the couch like waiting for her to come home every night. This whole situation is just grimy to me. It makes me feel so like dirty after learning all of this. And Madison goes and knocks on David's door and pretty much is just like, wake up, get out here. Like we need to have an on-camera conversation about this. And you can tell David too is like totally caught off guard. Like, wait, I thought we were going to pretty much like keep this a secret until after decision day. Like, I can't believe we're going to actually talk about this on camera. And Madison is just like, I can't keep this in anymore. I don't think I can stay in my marriage because I like you, David. And I don't know, like, I don't know what's going on here. Kind of being like, I don't know if we're going to date. I don't know if we're going to like, what's going to happen. But like, I have to just admit finally that I do have feelings for you. And that I don't think I can stay married to Alan, even though I only have 1 more week until decision day. She's like, I need to pretty much like not go into decision day like with this facade any longer. Like we have to kind of like just come clean. And David is giddy. David is like, oh my God. You can tell he has like real feelings for Madison. You can tell he's really into her, which I think this whole situation with Madison has just really made me not like her as a person. It seems like she's kind of like, I don't know, I'm getting like mini narcissistic vibes from her. Like she's always talking about, oh, I'm the most gorgeous girl. And like no one ever takes me seriously. Or like everyone thinks I'm just like a party girl because I'm pretty. And like no one thinks I can be smart. And like her obsession with the way Alan looks and the way that he dresses and her being like, I can't be with a guy that like is like, she is worse than Michelle to me. Like Michelle at least was straight up and honest from day one with David with her problems. Madison's like sneaky. Madison is like kind of that girl who like does everything from like behind the scenes, like pulling strings, like a little like puppet master. She's got David wrapped around her finger. And now that she's ready to come clean, like David is excited to have his gym buddy turned girlfriend. Finally, they can like live out loud and be in love. But it still is not like something still is not adding up to me. And I think we're going to be learning more on this week's episode. So the fact that this is all out though on camera, Michelle finally gets to go to Madison and be like, wow, I thought we were friends and you were fucking doing this behind my back the whole time. Like, you're dirty. It feels good to have Carla, I was living for, being like, girl, like what you did is not okay. You played Alan. You played us all. You didn't respect the situation. This is a safe space for all of us couples. Like, I do think the couples really do bond. And you see that like a lot of the times they do the after decision day specials where like all of the couples are still hanging out. Like, they all become like a real friend group. She's like, you tainted the friend group. You pretty much ruined this experience for everybody by making a mockery of it. And like, this has never happened. It is unprecedented in Married at First Sight history that another husband and another wife have cheated together like during filming. Like, this has never happened. So yeah, she is right. Like, she totally ruined the entire experiment. It makes it hard for other people to want to join the show and do this for future seasons because it's like kind of a joke now. So I'm glad that Carla called her out. I'm glad Camille and Thomas are the only possibility of couples staying together this season after decision day. But even Camille, quiet little, like, Thomas and Camille are like the most bland couple that are just, they're kind of like our boring couple, but the boring ones are always the ones that stay married because they're real and they don't have all this drama. But even them, like, not condoning them and telling them basically, like, you guys need to kind of like leave the house. Like, you don't need to be here for the rest of the retreat. Like, we're not going to just support you and David, like, being together now, especially with us. Like, you guys are not hanging out with us. Like, I love them being shunned from the group, like, having to put their tail between their legs and like move on. So lots of drama going on at Married at First Sight. Now, the one thing that goes on is finally the producers sit down with Madison and David and they're like, okay, now this has all gotten back to us. We now know all this drama is going on. Like, basically explain yourself and tell us like how this happened, why this happened, and why you think this was okay. And they're just sticking to their guns. Like, we can't help that we had feelings. Like, Madison's whole thing is like, you can't help who you fall for. And like, I'm not going to apologize like how it happened. Like, she's not taking any accountability. She's not feeling bad for Alan at all. She's only feeling bad that she looks like an asshole, which again, very narcissistic. And she's just gaslighting everybody on the cast to basically like support her and that everybody should be happy for her. And when the experts sit down with her, they're like, okay, Madison, like, we're very confused that you went for David because you literally sat in your casting chair and told us that you wanted a white husband. Like, we asked you if you would be okay with getting married to somebody outside of your race, and you told us no. You said, no, like, basically, and it's okay because you have to be honest with the experts about what you're looking for. Like, if you are not wanting, if you're white and you don't date outside of your race and then they match you with a black man, they're gonna like, hello, that's a recipe for disaster. And that's also like low-key racist. So they're not going to put that on the TV show. But basically, Madison sits in that chair and she's like, yeah, like, I do want my husband to be white. I want us to be from the same race. Like, I want us to raise kids that are white and like have the same, family lineage. Like, that's what she kind of goes on to say. And so they're like, okay, so now you're with David, who's Puerto Rican, who you basically said you didn't want to be with. Like, make it make sense. Make it make sense. And that's the cliffhanger that they left us on for the episode for tomorrow night. So, my ass is tuning in. I'm like so hooked on this season. I'm so glad that we got to see the downfall of this because I think if they would have went through decision day and acted like everything was fine and this all would have came out afterwards, this was like Scandal level to me, where they went back and showed all of these like previous scenes and all these little Easter eggs that were going on. This was a very good season. I'm like living for it, loving it. And I really can't wait to see what's going to happen on decision day and see what's really going to go down. So that was my number 5 most talked about moment. All the shit hitting the fan at the couples retreat at Married at First Sight. Now, moving on to my number 4 most talked about moment. Another social experiment dealing with marriage, people getting engaged that have never seen each other. Love is Blind. We had season 6 premiere and everybody's calling it Love is Bland. Everybody online is roasting how all of these Minnesota men look exactly the same, which of course they do. If you're from the Midwest, you know, like I said, Michigan girly, lived in Chicago for 10 years. This is like how it goes. At least when I moved to Chicago, I got to date and be in a world of diversity. But when you're from your hometown and you stay in your hometown, like, and it's Minnesota, like, yeah, there's just not a lot of diversity there. Even though they're in Minneapolis, which is the biggest city in Minnesota, you know, it's still a small town and everybody knows each other. Everybody, I think, kind of like, it's really hard for you to not have some kind of mutual friend or do I know you kind of feeling about it. Like, I think that's how Detroit is too, or like Grand Rapids in Michigan. Like, yes, they are large metro towns, but everybody knows somebody who knows somebody. And there's a lot of that going on in this season of Love is Blind. The first thing that goes on is Taylor and Daniel getting matched in the pods, getting engaged. They do the reveal, and Taylor right away is like, I know this guy. He's followed me on Instagram. I've seen him before. Like, did he come into this like knowing me and then also like choosing me in the pods because he's already seen me and seen my photos, knows I'm a registered nurse, knows I love Taco Bell, knows that I love Taylor Swift, knows that I love Christmas. Like, again, from one basic Betty to another, like, could Taylor be any more basic? She's like talking about all these things. Like, how could Taylor, or how I'm sure Daniel like knew all these things about me. And that's how he was able to connect with me so much in the pods. Like, oh yeah, I love Taylor Swift too. Oh yeah, I'm a big Christmas guy. Oh yeah, I love Taco Bell. I love fast food. Like, all these things they had in common, but it's really like, these aren't like that niche things to have in common. Like, who doesn't fucking love Taco Bell? So I think it was a little bit, you know, a little bit crazy that Taylor was so gung-ho. Like, this guy knew me and basically like stalked me in the pods to like get married to me. So they do the reveal and right away she's like, I don't know, I have a bad feeling about this guy. Like, I swear I know him from social media. So the producers right away are like, let's just give her back her phone, which you're not supposed to get your phone back until after the honeymoon and they come back to like the real world. So they're like, okay, let's just give her back her phone and we're going to let her look on her followers app, which to me, I've never had an app like that where like I want to see who's following me. I don't know. I think that's kind of like weird to me. I'm just not one of those girlies who's ever had one of those, like, I don't know. I just don't operate like that. I don't need to see if my ex is like watching my stories. I don't need to know if somebody unfollowed me and refollowed me. That's just weird to me. Like, I feel like people get that so that they can like, I don't know, like stalk other people a little bit. I don't know. That's just not how I like do social media, but to each their own. But Taylor gets her phone back and right away she's like, okay, I'm going to like look it up now. So this is like your one chance. She's sitting there with Daniel. She said, this is like your one chance to come clean with me if you were actually following me before we came on the show. Daniel's like, I swear if I did, I don't remember. Like, I don't remember you. I don't remember anything about your profile. Like, everything in the pods was genuine. And Taylor is going full on like spiraling, like, no, I feel like you're lying to me. And she just kind of has this complex. I think to me, it's like, if you're one of those girls, like, sorry, no offense, but like, if you're one of those girls who like is so kind of like self wrapped up in like yourself that you think people are like obsessed with you like that, I don't know, that's kind of giving like a little bit of a red flag to me. But it's like, okay, girl, you're like not that important, but okay, like, yep, do you. And she goes and she starts looking through the followers and looking through the follower app to show too, like, if people unfollow you, it shows you like anybody who's ever followed you. Like, again, I think it's weird if you're like that obsessed with who follows you. And she's like looking through, she's scrolling, and you can tell by like, as she's getting down there, she's like, okay, like, he's not, you know, his name's not popping up on here. Like, okay, oh my God, I was wrong. And I totally just accused this guy of basically stalking me and being obsessed with me when he like had no idea who I was. And she starts to totally be like, shit, like, I completely look insane. I totally accused this guy. Like, he's going to think I'm crazy. Like, now did I ruin our connection? Because is he even going to like want to date me now that he sees that I'm like one of these like crazy girls? And yeah, she's kind of right. Like, I hope that in the end she didn't ruin this, but Daniel comes from like the sweetest family. He has the comeback of the season. Everybody goes from thinking this guy's like a weirdo stalker to him being like from the sweetest family, totally just being obsessed with Taylor for who she is, like totally supporting her, even though she was a crazy girl. And his sister is actually blind. And so they meet her and they come on camera and she's talking about how like, wow, you guys dated and like how I date basically like every day. Like I can't see their face. I never get to see their face. So at least you finally get to like meet each other. But I was just sobbing at that part. Like when they brought his sister on and they just show like what a good family he's from and then their parents meet. And I think there's a chance that they actually do work out in the real world. We'll have to obviously wait and see. Now they have released the first 9 episodes. I think I'm all caught up. But yeah, all that drama with Taylor and Daniel was very interesting. And like I said, I have friends like that like think of themselves in this way of social media. And I don't know if it's just, I don't know what it is about that, but I don't know, girls, you are not that important. So I don't think you need to be like wondering who's following you. I was even if you're a celebrity, but like, even celebrities don't care. Like, I think it's weird that those followers apps, unless you have like an actual stalker that you have to be like worried about. I don't know why you're worried about who's following you. Very weird. Like if you have a crush on somebody or something and you're like trying to see if they're like watching your stories, like, I don't know, that is so like juvenile to me. I don't know. Just not for me. That is not for me. So the other drama that's going on in Love is Blind is Dave. Everyone's talking about Dave and Lauren. And a lot of people do not like Dave. They think that he's a douchebag. In the pods, he had a bunch of really bad jokes. He just was kind of always like coming off like he did the pods because he's always dating hot women and he's hot and like he never knows if girls really like him for him or just because he was a college baseball player. I mean, this is very small town Minnesota stuff going on this season. He played for the University of Minnesota. He wasn't even like an MLB player, you know, like I could see if he played for like the Twins, and him being concerned if a girl's with him for the wrong reasons and for his money or something. But he also goes on to talk about how his mother passed away and he kind of just wants to do her proud and really end up with somebody who can be a good mom, be a good wife. And he kind of has this whole like resurgence of his personality, basically like a fuckboy exorcism on himself of, okay, like I need to learn how to like really date for the right reasons. And he ends up choosing Lauren, who's a great choice. She's like a school curriculum sale. She like sells high school like social studies curriculum. She's like basically a teacher, just really, again, like a normal girly who isn't into who's following her on social media, kind of like Taylor is. And just going into that whole idea, like she's not that so self-important. She just seems like a really normal, regular girl who enjoys Soul Cycle and is, you know, she's not like she's pretty. She's a pretty girl, but she doesn't wear a lot of makeup and she's just kind of like a normal girly. And Dave really is into her. He has to choose between her and Molly, which Molly was really leading with her sexuality in the pods and was really leading with like her being like the sassy redhead. And Dave was really tempted, I think, to be with her because of course Molly was being everything that he usually chooses outside of the pods. But he again makes the right choice, goes with Lauren, and doesn't go with Molly. Molly doesn't end up with anybody, which I, again, think it's very weird that Molly's never had a boyfriend, but she's like ready for marriage. Like sometimes the casting on these shows, it's like, I swear it's like stunt casting. Like, let's just throw a wrench in there and see if anybody will like take the bait because it's like, why are you here? So Dave's whole thing, yes, is that he's like, okay, I'm like ready for marriage and I haven't had a girlfriend in 4 years. I haven't been sleeping with anybody. Like he's taking the process very seriously. And a lot of people are hating on him for the way that he ends up kind of like getting down on Lauren for the way that she ends up not really playing the cards that well in this whole pod situation. Because what ends up happening is they get out of the pods. And of course, again, we're talking about everyone gets their phones back. And Dave's very involved with his sister. Him and his sister are very close. Again, I think through the death of their mom, he's became very close with his sister. And Dave talks a lot about his sister. It is a little weird, like how much he brings her up. But I also know with editing and stuff, like that's just how it goes. But they're bringing this up a lot. And it's because Dave in the building that he lives in, which is a nice like luxury, I think, apartment building in Minneapolis, he ends up knowing and having mutual friends with the guy that Lauren dated last before she went into the pod. So now he's engaged to this girl. He gets his phone back and everybody's like, oh my God, I can't believe you're engaged to her. Like, did you know she dated so-and-so? They were together like a week before she went into the pods. And Dave confronts her about this and is like, I'm having a really hard time because like I'm supposed to be marrying you in 3 weeks, but like literally a week before I met you, you were sleeping with a guy in my building that like we have mutual friends with. Like, this does not look good. And I know a lot of people are not going to like this, but I'm kind of on Dave's side. I know, shocker, misogynist, Amanda, but I'm kind of on Dave's side a little bit because I get where he's saying, like, I really went into this. I didn't have any friends with benefits on the outside waiting for me if the experiment didn't work. I didn't like have somebody that I was seeing casually and like left to come be on the show. Like, once he was cast and going through the process of being on the show, like he really was taking it seriously. Like, I feel like he really was there to like find a wife. And he wants to, have a family and settle down and have somebody that his sister loves. And if his sister is his best friend and she doesn't approve of Lauren because she has mutual friends with her and hasn't heard great things maybe, or like knows that she was literally just sleeping with another guy right before she came into the pods, like Lauren didn't really take the experiment seriously either. And that's, again, going back to the married at first sight thing. Like, if you're getting cast on a show where you're expected to be getting married to basically a stranger, you can't like keep somebody out if it doesn't work. That means you're not fully going into the experiment and really giving it your all, because you're like, well, whatever, it doesn't work out, like so-and-so's waiting for me afterwards. And I don't know, like I'm kind of like a purist when it comes to these social experiments. Like, I don't think that you should be doing both. Like, you don't get to have it both ways. Like, you have to kind of like commit yourself to the process or not. Because again, if I went into these pods and I got engaged to somebody and I found out, oh, you were literally just like sleeping with a guy like 7 days before I met you, and now we're like engaged, like there's just not enough time in between. Like, there's just not. Like, I dated my husband for 5 years before we got married. Like, that, I don't know. Like, I could never be, I guess, in a situation where I just was expected to marry somebody like a week after I met them, or even less at Married at First Sight, where you meet them at the same time you're getting married to them. Like, it's just not for me. I think I need like a lot more time to like get to know somebody before I commit to something like that. But these people know what they signed up for. So I don't understand how you can go into it with the mentality that you're like ready to marry somebody if you basically like have a boyfriend or a friends with benefits on the side. It's just not like being true to the experiment. I don't really think Lauren's really not liking that she's like getting heat for this, but I kind of like agree with it. Now, they show a lot of clips of Dave at the honeymoon asking all of the other couples when they all meet each other, which is so weird because in this whole season of Love is Blind is weird because in previous seasons, they spent a lot of time on the honeymoons and the drama and the other couples meeting and things going on. But like this season, they spent 6 episodes in the pod, so it really got to know the couples better. They only had 1 episode at the honeymoon because there was no drama when all of the other couples like got together, because none of them had like crossover, where usually once they get to see somebody else from the pods that they were also dating, it ends up making things like kind of tricky. There was really like none of that drama this season, which is, I think, kind of good. Again, like I actually want to see real couples. I'm not here just for the drama. Like, I actually am curious, like if the experiment works, and I want to see like real couples get married and like have it work out. I don't want to see everybody just like break up at the altar. I don't know. I just like, I love love. I want to see like love. I don't want to just see like fighting and drama and cheating. And I just think it's crazy that they only had 1 episode at the honeymoon, and then now like we're getting into the part, well, again, at the Dave at the honeymoon was like asking a lot of the other couples, like, have you guys had sex yet? Like, have you guys had like a physical connection yet outside of the pods? And it seems like nobody has slept together on the honeymoon, which again, they literally meet 48 hours at the reveal, and then they're on their honeymoon together. There's taking them like a while to kind of like warm up to each other. Like, there are other couples in the past, I think, that have slept together at the honeymoon, but a lot of the couples like don't hook up. So I think this was like an editing trick to make us all think that Dave was like obsessed with having sex with Lauren, but I don't think that that's really how he is. I also think, again, if he hasn't had sex with a girl in like a long time because he was waiting to actually get married and taking the process seriously, like he just is probably like, oh, like we're gonna like be together forever. So we should sleep together like on our honeymoon. Like I think he's really thinking about it like a real honeymoon, like they just got married. But I don't know. I'm just again a little bit of a Dave apologist on this. I don't think like the way he's going about it is great, but I do understand like where he's coming from. So sue me. Sue me. I think Lauren really has got to figure out a way to kind of explain to Dave, like, okay, yeah, I kept like a side piece just in case I didn't meet anybody in the pods, but I still really do want to marry you and like I do love you. I think he just is feeling like maybe he doesn't want to get played and he's got like his guard up too. So they've got some shit to figure out. And I know that finally in the next batch of episodes that are released, it will be bringing in all of the other singles from the pods that didn't get chosen. And our girl Madison, again, another Madison, Mads from the pods, the girl that was kind of dating Alex and dating Mason and didn't end up choosing anybody in the end and left on her own accord, is going to be coming in with some drama. So there will be some drama brought into this because them all getting their phones back in the age of TikTok and the age of all of these things going on online, it really does throw like a whole different perspective on the show and the couples, and they have to deal with the real world and all of the rumors about themselves and the things that they found out online about each other. Because again, like they meet in the pods and then they probably get out and like Google and look up their Instagrams and look up their mutual friends, and it is a small town. So there will be some drama coming, but it's been a little slow up until this. I'm going to always watch Love is Blind. I live for this show. So yeah, that was my number 4 most talked about moment of the week, the Love is Blind premiere and all of the drama that has happened in the first 8 episodes. So hope you're all staying tuned for that. Let's move on to my number 3 most talked about moment of the week. We're going down to Southern Charm. We're going down to Charleston, and we got to talk about what's going on in the Bahamas with Shep and Sienna, because it is a huge topic of conversation for everybody going on Bravo right now. And again, like big surprise, contrarian Amanda like has a different perspective on things. But okay, we've seen now 10 episodes of Shep like kind of being a douchebag, right? Like the show Southern Charm is built on the backs and the premise of Peter Pan men. Go back and watch episode 1, season 1. It's called Peter Pan Syndrome. And it goes on with Cameron, if you remember the old cast member Cameron, who was from The Real World, who was on the show the first like 4 seasons. She explains like, okay, a lot of men in Charleston don't settle down because there's like 10 girls for every 1 guy in Charleston. There's like this huge ratio. All of the girls want to settle down and none of the men want to because they have too many options. And that's like what the show is about. The entire show is about this. So it's been following these men like Thomas Ravenel, who never married Catherine because, you know, for many, many reasons. But even though she's the mother of his children, he also didn't want to get married and settle down. Then we have Whitney, who's never been married and settled down, who is, again, one of the stars, executive producers, creators of the show. Him and Patricia are fabric of Southern Charm. Everybody has turned on them recently because we're living in this world right now where like misogyny is the word on everyone's lips on Bravo. It's like everybody just learned what misogyny was for the first time, and now they can't stop thinking about it. And now every man is evil, and every man, it's just fuck the patriarchy. And I'm so sick of it. I'm truly so sick of this like narrative. Like we can't just hate every single man. I don't know. I like living in a world with men. I don't think all men are evil. I think that there's lots of them that are, but I also think there's plenty of men that are okay. They're okay. They're good people. I think believing that every single man is inherently evil is very toxic. And if we're just going to continue to like break down every single man on Bravo and try to like tear them down, like it's my eyes like cannot roll back further in my head. I understand. I'm not saying that they're great. I'm not saying that I like love the patriarchy. It's just getting a little bit old to me that every single show now, all we do is like hate on all of these men and talk about how the women are perfect angels and how they never do anything wrong and everything's always the man's fault. And I think that there's just equal accountability, that there's equal bullshit and hatred in both sexes. And we have to like recognize that the sexes to me are what make the world go round. Like we kind of have to have the duality of men and women in the world. It's important. Also, like you need men and women to procreate. Like I've given you my thoughts before about Lala and Gigi and now Angelina from MTV. Like these women who just refuse to look at themselves and think, maybe am I the problem a little bit here and reason why I can't have a healthy relationship? It's like, how's it always the man's problem and the man's fault? Yes, we know that men cheat. We know that men lie. We know, but lots of women do too. So can everybody just like reel in the hatred of men and the patriarchy for like 5 minutes so I can enjoy these shows, because it's really ruining it. The Bravo fandom is it's really being ruined for me when every time I go online, I have to just read about how Jesse and West and Shep and say it's like, okay, we know that there's terrible men on Bravo, but like it doesn't have to be our whole personality. Maybe. Just maybe. I know I'm crazy, but can we like talk about anything else for 5 seconds, or maybe talk about the actual dynamics of the show, or maybe talk about both partners and what's going on not working in these relationships? Because it's not just easy as being like, oh, men are evil and men suck and they're the devil. It's just not that easy sometimes. There's a lot more layers and dynamics to people and who they are. So, okay. So anyways, with Shep, with that being said, is Shep some like amazing person? No. Do I think that like should be a role model for people? No. But can two things be true at the same time? Yes. And Sienna being the self-proclaimed granddaughter, she said, my granny is the president of the Southern Charm fan club. She knew who Shep was when she met him online. She doubtedly, to me, used him to get on television. She either was like, hey, she tried to go online and like do a couple series of videos and TikToks over the weekend being like, when I saw Shep online, I thought he was just like a good Southern boy. I thought maybe, okay, I'll give it like a shot. Like they reached out to each other. Now she's been going on and on about how Whitney, because again, a big part of the plot this season was that Whitney and her also communicated on Raya. So not only had she been in communication with Shep online, but she was also talking to Whitney online. And it turns out that Whitney did reach out to her first, and she showed the receipts of that. But where are the receipts of Shep reaching out to her first? Because if Shep would have messaged her first online, I think there would be a small argument for her to say she did not seek him out to get on the television show. But there are no receipts of that. So to me, it's clear that she saw Shep online. She's been watching Southern Charm for years because she, again, said her and her family watch it and that she knows everybody and she knows the history of the show, which means she also knew that Shep was a douchebag before she reached out to him on Raya. And I know that she thought in her head one of two things. There's only two options here. One is, oh, I recognize this guy from this show and I'm going to just reach out to him and see if maybe we like do have a connection. And I think like maybe she's into Southern boys. Maybe she is kind of like Sierra, where she like loves these like white Midwestern Southern guys that are blonde. And, maybe that was her type. Maybe Shep is her type. And she thought, okay, I'm going to just like reach out to him and see like if we have something there is the first option. It was genuine, genuine dating. Let's see if we have a connection. Or B, I'm going to reach out to this guy because I know him from television, and like worst case scenario, I get to be on this show, because if we date, I will get to then like manifest my way onto the show that I watch every single season. It's only one of two things, because she definitely knew who she was when she started communicating with him, and she is the one that reached out first. So it's not like rocket science, you guys, that Sienna knew who he was and she probably used him to either just get to know him out of curiosity or to get onto the show. It's really not that crazy. We don't have to be like, oh my God, Shep totally is delusional and he forced her to be in a relationship. No, there was no forcing. Sienna willingly dated this man, knowing his reputation, knowing his history. She got involved with him. She hung out with him off camera before filming started. They had already had established a relationship. And then as cameras picked up, Shep was already talking to her, because in episode 1, he's already in somewhat of a long distance courtship with her. So they started dating off camera, and then cameras picked up, and she was probably thinking like, okay, I want to stick around. Even if at that point she had been like, okay, I'm not really feeling Shep. Like I've met him in real life now. It's not going to go anywhere. We're not really going to like date in real life. She definitely was like, I'm going to just stick around because now cameras are up and like, I want to get to know everybody else. The first scene of her coming in is that dog party that Rodrigo had, which was episode 2. So that means they had only been filming for like a week. She flies in, she comes to the party, and she's meeting everybody. She gets to know everybody on the cast. She meets Taylor. There's like that little moment of Taylor and Sienna meeting because it's like Shep's new girlfriend versus Shep's ex. There's kind of like drama there a little bit. And she hangs out there. This is not the first time they had met. They had been hanging out off camera. Again, they had, it looks like if you go to Shep's Instagram, even, there are even photos of them like going on other trips together. So they had been talking off camera, hanging out off camera before filming even started. So there was something established there. Now, Shep, of course, this whole storyline is that he really develops feelings for her, and he kind of gets a little bit crazy with it, and he's starting to plan a future with her, and she's not into it. It's very clear that when they finally get to the Bahamas and Sienna's supposed to meet him at the airport and she doesn't show up, and then she's supposed to come to the dinner, and Shep like is trying to spend time with her because they haven't seen each other in 6 weeks because she's been now avoiding him. To me, it's very clear that she was like, okay, I tried to do it. I tried to date this guy to be on camera. I really don't like him. He's now getting like head over heels for me. Like the feelings are not reciprocated. I'm going to like back off for a little while. And then when Shep is like, hey, like, why don't we come to the Bahamas like for our cast trip? She probably was thinking like, okay, this is getting a little weird, but like, why not? Because again, I'm going to be on camera. Everything, there's no such thing as bad press. Like she's thinking like, hell yeah. First of all, I want to be friends with these people because she knows them from television. That'd be like Vanderpump Rules being like, hey, we're coming. Like, I don't know. Like, I can't even really put myself in that situation being like married. But if I were to date somebody and it's like, okay, worst case scenario, like fake date Jax. It's like worst case scenario, everyone like loves me, kind of like Britney, like literally what Britney did. Marry this guy, all this stuff, even though this guy's like crazy, like she still gets to be friends with everybody afterwards. Everyone loves her. Like she's still part of the show. She's part of the Valley now. Like she made a whole career out of this now, off of dating Jax, even though she knew he was trash. So maybe Sienna was like a little bit of that Britney, like that little like small town girl inside of her was like, okay, if I can just like fake date this guy, have a storyline, like everyone will love me. I'll become friends with everybody. Like I'll be part of the show. I don't know what she was thinking in the long run, like how this would all play out. But it's like obvious to me that that's how she was thinking. And she thought she could just maybe fake it. But she didn't realize, I think, until Shep got to the Bahamas, like how in love with her he was and how he was really planning this future with her. And I don't know. To me, it's so clear that like she actually did lead him on and she did have kind of an agenda going into this, but like somehow everybody's saying that Shep is just like this old weirdo and it's all his fault. And I don't know. I actually am feeling for Shep a little bit in this situation. I think that he, ran away with it a little bit. And of course, he's a lot older than her. And it's very clear maybe that it wasn't a match. But even when they're sitting at that dinner and she's like, yeah, I love Shep. And I think he's a great guy. We've had a lot of good times together. Like, she's not saying like, oh, I'm totally freaked out by him. Like, I think he's weird. Like, we're just friends. I don't know where he got the idea that we were dating. Like, it's giving Madison and David and like Alan, like it's giving I led him on a little bit and like things like got a little too serious and I wasn't expecting it to kind of go this far, but like I'm saving face for camera and I'm also trying to befriend everybody and be on the cast and like hope that everyone likes me. And again, when it comes to the after show, I'm not the biggest fan of Rodrigo. He seems like a really messy, like kind of like a mean gay, which is not my favorite type of person. But he goes on the after show with Taylor and he's like, yeah, like it was really weird how Sienna was trying to be friends with all of us and hang out with all of us when it's like, you're Shep's girl. Like, why aren't you hanging out with Shep? You should be hanging out with him, filming with him. Like, we don't want to be your friend. We don't really care to be your friend. He said that she was actually rude to her. He said that at the dog party and previous times that he had met her that he didn't really like her vibe. And I think that Sienna was starting to catch on like, okay, these people aren't going to be friends with me. I'm not really going to be like a cast member. I'm not going to date Shep. She kind of like tries to disappear a little bit. But then of course Shep keeps being like, hey, like I need to talk to you on camera. And so she keeps coming back. Again, like she's getting paid. She's getting paid to be a cast member. Like she didn't appear for all this for free. I'm sure she's getting like appearance fees and stuff for filming and she's a beauty queen. She wants to establish herself. I don't know. I'm getting clout chaser vibes. I'm getting she used Shep. I'm getting that. Is Shep a great person? No. Is it weird that he's like 15 years older than her? Yes. But like, I mean, how old is Austin's girlfriend? Isn't she like way younger than him? Like, I don't know. Like these guys always don't really date girls their age. So that isn't like the scandalous part to me. The part to me is just like how much everybody is just willing to pile on Shep and like call him a piece of shit when like, okay, so previously everybody's mad at Shep because he'll never settle down. Now he's trying to settle down and everybody's like mad at him for that too. Like these people sometimes like can't win. And I just don't know like what the fandom wants, what girls really want. Sometimes I really have to just say like it gives like single bitter a lot to me. Like all men are trash. Like I hate men. It's like, I don't know. If you're single and you have this idea that like all men are trash and you hate everybody, it's like maybe that's why you're single. Because if you aren't willing to accept that like men are different than women, and I talked about this in my last episode, like we all want we don't want men to be like these beta men and like act like women, but we also don't want them to act like men. So what do you want? Like, what do you really want from these people? Like, you can't expect them to be these like magical creatures who are like pro feminism and like I don't know. It's like, I'm not trying to say boys will be boys because I do think obviously there's like a line where you're being disrespectful and being like, I don't know, that double standard. Like, I don't think that, but I also think that you have to recognize that like men are not women. And if you're expecting them to think like women and act like women, like then you should just go be with a woman because men are not like that. Like you have to have realistic expectations. I think it's the unrealistic expectations of all of the men on Bravo that are driving me crazy. Like we've got to lower our expectations. We can't truly expect them to like all be these perfect angel men. Like that's just not the world that we live in. Hate to break it to you. So yeah, that was my number 3 most talked about moment of the week. Again, just touching back again quickly on Austin and Audrey. There were rumors that they were engaged over the weekend because there was a picture of them all playing Scrabble and there was a girl's hand with a big rock on her finger. It was their friend they were playing Scrabble with that is married. It was not Audrey's finger. Austin and Audrey are not engaged, and we could all rest easy that Austin's not engaged to little Pookie. I like that he calls her Pookie, Audrey. So yeah, just to touch on that really fast, let's move right on into my number 2 most talked about moment of the week is the text that Kyle sends Paige in this upcoming episode of Summer House. There have been screenshots taken. There have been now Reddit threads. Somebody decoded, I think it was Face Reality 16 on Instagram, always doing the Lord's work. They decoded, they paused the episode of the trailer for next episode, and they saw, because it's a teaser of next episode where Sierra and Paige are standing there together at this event that Kyle DJ'd on the roof. I was there, and I'm going to be sharing more about that because I was standing right next to Sierra and Paige when this was going on. Like I was literally standing 2 feet away from them and I couldn't hear what they were talking about, but I was trying to, I mean, it was very loud at this event. And so if you didn't have a mic on, like there's no way that you were going to like hear what they were saying. But they were standing right behind me and I kept looking like, oh my God, what is going on that Sierra is, or that Paige is bringing up on her phone and reading to Sierra? Like I didn't know if it was rumors about Lindsay because Lindsay had just came out with her pregnancy. I didn't know if it was stuff about Craig. I really didn't know like what it was that they were going on and on about because you could tell that they were angry. Like that's the thing about Sierra and Paige. Like, are they ever smiling? Are they ever happy? Are they ever like, I don't like the bitter Betty attitude that they always have, that like, they're just always like, ugh, like that, like attitude. I don't know, not my type of girly again. But they were just kind of standing there, like looking at her phone, talking about drama on her phone. I thought maybe it had something to do with West too, because at that time, West and Sierra weren't talking. They weren't really even talking to each other at this event. They were avoiding each other. And I'm like, okay, are they talking about West? What are they looking at on their phone? Because they're standing there, the cameras are on them, and Paige is showing Sierra something on her phone, and they're discussing it. Now we know that it is actually text messages that Kyle sent to Paige going off on her because Hannah, which is so crazy that Hannah's coming back on here. And I'm curious if they're going to actually bring up the fact that this is really about Hannah this episode, or if this is really going to be more about the Craig, Paige, Kyle triangle that starts to be created with the lover boy versus society spritz war that goes on. But this is like when Craig announces his partnership to be representative for the Sprit Society because he's friends with Ben Soffer, guy with no job, girl with no job. You guys have heard me talk about Claudia Oshry in the past, her biggest hater. And I really dislike Girl with No Job and the Toasters and the whole Morning Toast crew. I'm so glad that they have been like canceled 3 times now, and people have really woken up to them being trash and being racist and elitist and all of these other things. But Craig goes on to be like a partner with them, which again is not good for the Loverboy brand. They want everybody in Summer House to be drinking Loverboy, loving Loverboy, living, laughing, loving Loverboy. Sierra and Paige are going over these text messages and Kyle's going off like, how the hell, this is what the text messages say now. Like, how the hell are you gonna like allow Hannah to keep talking trash about me and Amanda? Amanda went on Call Her Daddy with Alex Cooper, or no, Hannah went on Call Her Daddy with Alex Cooper and talks shit about Amanda and Kyle, because Hannah and Kyle have really had a feud for many years. Hannah believes Kyle is the reason why she was fired from Summer House. And Kyle is going on in this text message being like, I'm not the reason why Hannah got fired from Summer House. She still has this grudge and she's still talking shit about me and Amanda in the press 3 years later because she thinks we're the reason that she got fired. But really it's because she had the lowest Q score and the lowest likability rating. And that's why she got fired from Summer House, because nobody liked her and everybody found her and her weird love triangle with Sierra and Luke to be the reason why she got fired, because she was just going on and on. Like, again, I blame Hannah for all of this fuck the patriarchy and misogyny. She is the one that has created the Giggly Squad is built on the back of misogyny. She taught the gigglers what the patriarchy is and what the word of misogyny is. And Hannah lives in this world where all men, except for Des somehow, which let's not forget that Des is 15 years older than Hannah. And he gives chef vibes. So I don't understand why nobody comes for Des, using Hannah for her career and using her because she was on reality TV and he wanted to ride her coattails a little bit, and how Des is kind of a weirdo. No one ever brings that up because everybody loves him, but I get weirdo creep vibes from him. Also the fact that he like lived in China and was, I think his ex-fiance, like he was kind of like into, I don't know, using other cultures and stuff to kind of come ahead in the world. And he speaks Mandarin and he's this like big world leader and he's Irish. Like, I don't know. I'm not a Des fan because I've really turned my back on the gigglers and the Giggly Squad. I think that they're just part of the problem in all of this. And they're causing this huge like divide in the world now, that like everything, like women are perfect angels. There's nothing that we ever do wrong. And then they never take accountability for anything. And Hannah still isn't taking accountability for this feud that she's created. And she has caused problems and meddled in and talked shit about Amanda and Kyle's relationship, which again, of course, like who hasn't? But she goes and Call Her Daddy and she's like, oh yeah, Kyle was cheating on Amanda like right up until their wedding. And Kyle in this text message is like, I never confronted you or Hannah for talking about this and basically talking shit about me and Amanda's marriage. And I've always like let it slide. And he's like, basically like, I'm sick of it. Like Hannah is still talking about us 3 years later. And now you're piling on saying that you wish you would have stood up for Hannah more. Like Paige is lucky that she's still on Summer House because people liked her and she had a good rating, because remember, she was fucking around with Carl. Everybody hates Carl so much. Oh, Carl and his big teeth, and everyone's talking shit about Carl. Paige fucked him pretty much. Paige made out with him. Paige was into him for like multiple episodes and even crossed over multiple seasons. So how bad can he be? People really forget because they like to jump on and only watch like the last 2 seasons. Go back. If you haven't watched all of these episodes, if you haven't watched all of Southern Charm, if you haven't watched all of Summer House, like you don't get to have an opinion to me. Like your opinion does not matter. If you have only hopped in because of Giggly Squad, you don't remember all of the chaos and trauma that Hannah was fucking causing in the house. You guys don't remember. So she gets to like paint her little narrative to all the gigglers, like, oh, Kyle's evil and all this stuff. It's like, I don't know. You definitely caused a lot of drama too, Hannah. Your hands were not clean and you were also pretty toxic yourself. And that's the problem that I'm having with Sierra. Sierra's doing the same bullshit, right? Like West is so horrible. Like he played me. He just totally led me on. What about Austin? What about Luke? It's been the same narrative now for 5 years, spanned over the last 4 seasons, from season 5 all the way through season 9 now. that all of these men are awful. And Sierra rips them all in the press afterwards, talks trash, villainizes all of them. This show is about summer hookups. And the point is to be in the summer having flings and living in the house and like, oh, I don't know if we'll like date afterwards because we're all going back to our real lives when filming ends. And like none of them ever promised her that they were going to be in relationships with her. None of them ever swore that they were going to date after filming. She like made all of that up in her head. And then when they don't want to date her when the filming is over, they're evil now. Like just burn them and kill them. They're useless. She's a little bit toxic to me. Sierra is the common denominator in all of that. And I refuse to hate Wes. I refuse to hate Austin. And I refuse to hate Luke. I refuse to hate Kyle. I refuse to hate Carl. I just refuse to hate all of these men that all of the Bravo fandom has now like discarded. I don't care. I don't care if I'm an apologist. I don't care. People can say whatever they want. Like, I just refuse to be part of this like herd mentality that all these men are trash. I just do. I think these girls have been picking trash men fuckboys and they want to blame everybody but themselves. Have more self-respect for yourself to not choose these assholes in the first place, and we won't be in these conversations. I said it, but now we said it. Anyways, we're going to be seeing more of this episode coming up this week on Summer House. Again, I was at this filming event. I'm going to post some behind the scenes photos and stuff on my Instagram and be talking about this, I'm sure, next week. But I think it's interesting that that's what this drama is about, is really Kyle texting Paige. And I think that we're going to have a little bit of a Kyle Paige feud coming up on Summer House, which I'm kind of living for. Of course, now Kyle's going to be getting ripped apart for being a fucking misogynist too, because he didn't agree with Paige. It's just getting really old to me, this whole like narrative, but yet we still will move on. So, okay, that was my number 2 most talked about moment, were the release of the text screenshots from Kyle to Paige. And moving on to our number 1 most talked about moment of the week, we got to talk Traitors, because the Traitors, this Traitor season is really good, you guys. Like, the Faithfuls are the dumbest they've ever been, and the Traitors are the worst they've ever been, but like I'm still living for every single episode and on the edge of my seat. I've actually rewatched this season now 3 times. I've gone back and restarted it over because that's how much I love this show. And because I'm watching it with my husband and we don't watch a lot of reality TV together, he talks a lot and he asks a lot of questions. So I go back and I kind of rewatch on my own. On this most recent episode, we finally had the final Traitor on Traitor showdown of Carolyn and Danielle. And I'm sure you guys all know by now, spoiler alert, it has been like 4 days, but Carolyn gets eliminated and Danielle does defeat, taking out now Bob the Drag Queen, Boston Rob, and Carolyn. She is the last traitor standing, and she has been really alluding to the fact that she's been trying to get Danielle or Brittany on her alliance. So Danielle's been trying to get Brittany to join her. It looks like she's going to recruit her next week because Alan gives her the chance to recruit somebody in, being the last traitor. And how it works is if Brittany does not accept the recruitment, she will be murdered. So pretty much just like Kate last season, season 2 with Phaedra, like no one wants to be murdered and quit the show. So she's going to join Danielle. And then we're going to have to wait and see what happens. Is Brittany going to expose Danielle as a traitor and finally kind of get her revenge on the fact that Brittany and Danielle have this big brother drama that has preceded them coming into the house? Or are they really going to team up as traitors and win the show together? Because it can go really one of 2 ways. Everybody is very sad that Carolyn has been eliminated. But unfortunately, Carolyn just did not have the fire within her to really fight for her life in the end. I think that she knew if she really went for Danielle's jugular, she would have just had to expose the fact that Danielle and her were both traitors. And I think there was no way for her to save herself as a traitor without exposing Danielle as a traitor. And kind of with Danielle too, like just like Gabby, thank God for Gabby. I've again been rooting for Gabby since day one, from the beginning. Even if you go back and listen to my traitors, when I talk about on this show, when they announced the Traitors cast, I was most excited for Gabby, being a longtime Bachelor Bachelorette fan. I loved that Gabby was going to be in the castle. And she is the only one that truly seems to realize like Danielle is a traitor. And Chrishell was in an interview this week talking about how Danielle was going around the castle and telling everybody that she was swearing on her grandchildren's lives that she was not a traitor. And to me, that is just straight up cheating. Like, swearing on your kids' lives is diabolical to me. That's not gameplay. That's just sick to me, because everybody knows that like a normal human being would not do that. It's just like, that's just weird. That's like sociopathic to me. And so Danielle going around the castle and telling everybody, I swear on my grandkids, I swear on my grandkids' lives, like I'm not. She's getting everybody to really believe that she's not a traitor with that like one play. And she's getting freaking Dolores too to be her mouthpiece going around the castle, telling everybody like there's no way. Because Chrishell revealed this too. Like Dolores was really on the Danielle train of Danielle being a faithful, because Dolores is telling everybody there's no way somebody would do that. I totally, like, she was team Danielle being a faithful because she just said that nobody would do that. Nobody would possibly get like swear on their grandkids' lives if they weren't a faithful. So because Dolores is such a reliable narrator and people really trust her, which I do not understand how she has gotten to this place of like everybody really trusting her, because again, she's been Switzerland for all of these years on Real Houses of New Jersey. She has totally backed up Teresa, which again, Teresa fans, like, put your swords down, okay? The fact that she's always backed up Teresa on her horrible behavior and always had Teresa's back and always really like enabled Teresa to act like this, because it's like if Dolores was able to actually stand up to Teresa, I think a lot of the fandom would have actually been able to accept that Teresa was acting out of bounds on the show a lot and doing a lot of things that were just like crossing the line in the Housewives world and getting way too dirty, like having these smear campaigns, having private investigators, like doing these things that like, it's just taking it way too far. This is supposed to be freaking Housewives, but Dolo always backing up Teresa. And then, you know, if you guys didn't know that Dina, her sister, was literally abused and like completely, I mean, abused. I don't even know the words you can really say, like totally taken advantage of by her ex. And then they had the entire court case where Dolores wrote the letters of character in support of the man that abused her own sister. So between Teresa and between her supporting Tommy Manzo, Dina's ex that abused her, and now supporting Danielle, who's the worst traitor ever, swearing on her grandkids' lives, like, why can't we all as a society collectively just decide like Dolo is kind of a piece of shit too, and she's always supporting the wrong side of history, and she's a really bad judge of character. I mean, we all know that Paulie too, supposedly his divorce was just finalized, and a big reason why he was with his ex for 10 years is because allegedly him and his wife had a brothel that they ran in New Jersey and had a bunch of like, basically Paulie's a pimp. So now she's engaged to a guy that was still married to his ex-wife that was running a brothel. Like, all of these things combined, like, can we please stop putting Dolores on a pedestal like she's some perfect person too? Like, how is it that all of the Bravo fandom will go against every single man, but when we have like a very clearly horrible woman that actually is kind of a piece of shit, we all put her on a pedestal and a platform and all like praise her? The judge of character in the fandom is really starting to startle me. Like, it's really starting to make me be like, okay, I'm the crazy one. Like, how am I able to see all of this and nobody else is? Like, where are the blinders? What is going on here? What is going on here? Why are we giving all these horrible people more opportunities and praising them and having them be like the queens of the fandom? I just don't get it. I just don't get it, me personally. But again, this is why I have this podcast, because after episodes and episodes of listening to other people and going on social media and seeing all these people being like lifted up to the heavens, I have to have a space that I can come to and vent about this stuff. So Danielle, I'm really hoping that we get Danielle out of the traitors. I really am hoping that Brittany is able to turn on her somehow and get everybody else, because again, nobody thinks Brittany is a traitor right now. She's been able to defend herself at the round table, and they're convinced because again, with Sandoval, like, okay, you guys are going to tell me I have to go online every single day right now and see Sandoval's back. All maturing is realizing Sandoval's great TV. We're all okay with Sandoval now, but we're not okay with fucking West and Jesse. West and Jesse are evil, love bombers and toxic, but we all love Sandoval again. Okay, make it make sense, please. I'm just like, I've never felt so like I'm taking crazy pills in my life. So I'm really hoping either Gabby and Dylan are able to come together and really get the faithfuls to fucking wake up to Danielle's bullshit and the convulsing and the shaking and the lying and the crying. Worst traitor ever, in my opinion. Or that Brittany is going to be able to get the rest of the house, turn on Danielle, expose Danielle, and then she can be the last traitor and she can maybe win the show by exposing them. And then, but I do not want Sandoval winning traitors. Like, if I see one more meme about how we all want Sandoval to win traitors, I can't. If you can forgive Sandoval, can we please forgive West? West didn't even cheat on Sierra. How are we forgiving Sandoval and not forgiving the men of the summer house? How are we not able to forgive Carl for being able to break off the wedding with Lindsay when she was treating him like a piece of trash? Accusing him of doing drugs when he's in his sober recovery. We can't forgive Carl. We can't give Carl a chance, but we can give Sandoval a chance. Okay. Got it. So, okay, that is where I will leave you guys this episode. That was my number one most talked about moment, was Carolyn being eliminated, Danielle being the last traitor. I think Carolyn, what I love is when they go to the circle of truth and they are like, okay, I'm a faithful, I'm a traitor. It's really good to see a lot of them have a good sport, have a good attitude, say it was great to play the game with you. No hard feelings. I'm looking forward to the reunion. I really, really am looking forward to the reunion because Chrishell said that they are all going to be coming for Danielle, using her grandkids as a pawn, because that is fucked up. And again, it's like low key, like kind of cheating to me. That's like psychological cheating on people. So I cannot wait for the reunion. We only have like 2 episodes left. So things I didn't really get to talk about today. I didn't really get to talk about the Real Housewives of Potomac reunion. Episode 2 premiered last night. They're really giving it to Mia and holding her accountable. Karen is going to be looking at some possible jail time because it's been revealed now that she's had like 4 different related incidents, that she quite possibly, has had these 4 different DUIs. So be watching the Potomac reunion. I'm sure I'll be talking about part 3 next week on the show. And yeah, I think that was like pretty much all of my notes. I think I got to pretty much everything. Again, be watching Southern Hospitality because we've got lots of queer representation going on over there. We have now Lake, this most recent episode, coming out as a bisexual queen and having one of the girls that she's previously dated on the show. I'm loving her. I'm loving what she's bringing. I'm loving this like whole Gen Z take on reality TV on Bravo and like bringing up this new generation and the way that they think and kind of bringing these new dynamics into the show between TJ and Michaels and TJ and Joe Bradley and Lake now and Bradley and everybody, all the different things going on. I'm loving that. I'm even loving Maddie and her sober representation. Like, I don't think we've really had a person that young who doesn't drink and has had her own sober, she's kind of like Carl, like the girl version of Carl, like totally talking about her struggles and her addiction and why she's sober and how she's still able to be like, everyone's making fun of Carl. Like, why are you even in the summer house anymore? Like, you're bringing nothing. Like Gabby making fun of his non-alcoholic lover boy. Like, Gabby, girl, please. Making fun of Carl and his looks. Bring one of your men, one of the men that you're dating onto the show. Let's all judge his looks. I'm sure they're all fucking lookers. I'm sure you're just all dating models. Because Gabby's, whatever. I've just had enough kind of all of this. So thanks for letting me vent with you guys this week. Again, please, if you agree or disagree with anything I said, leave a comment, hit me in the DMs. I love to go back and forth. I love to hear other people's perspectives and I love feedback. So don't be afraid to come talk to me in the DMs. And I will be back next week with an all new episode of Bella Talks TV. So ciao, Bellas. Have a great week.